Hello and welcome to The Gaggle, where we challenge and, if necessary, destroy media narratives. I'm George Stanley. With me today, of course, is co-founder of The Gaggle, Peter Lavelle. So, Peter, we've already experienced some political changes in Europe since the February the 24th and the imposition of various sanctions. Boris Johnson has gone, Macron has lost his absolute parliamentary majority. But the big enchilada could be the election in Italy on September the 24th. And the reason why it's significant is that out goes Mario Draghi, the political establishment.
Maybe finally out too. Finally.
Exactly. And there's a possibility that a coalition, that's what the polls are showing, a coalition of right-wing populist parties will come to power. And already the political establishment is extremely nervous, and their nervousness is finding expression in the mainstream media outlets about the sort of people who might come to power in Italy. So obviously, since it's Italy, naturally, they're all fascists who are going to become to power. They're all adherents of Mussolini. But even worse than that, even worse than following Mussolini, is that they might be adherents of Putin. And I want to show you an article that was written, it was a few days ago, in the New York Times by their Rome correspondent. And
it's probably lives in New York. Sorry.
Yes, exactly. But what's interesting about this, I mean, this is the New York Times, is obviously, presenting the establishment view. This is the establishment of NATO, the establishment of the European Union, European Commission, the World Bank, the International Monetary Fund. They all find articulation in these sort of articles in the New York Times. And so here it is. It says, Draghi's fall reverberates beyond Italy. The downfall of Italy's prime minister has raised concerns across Europe about the power of populist movements and that whether they will erode unity against Russian aggression. So that's the key here is whether erode unity.
Just by that subtitle there is that so there's no mention that there are economic problems in Italy. There's debt problems. There's, all the things that we associated with the sick man of the European Union syndrome. But no, it's all about Russia.
But also,
no question about why populist movements.
That's right. But let's imagine, they talk about the downfall of Draghi. Remember, Draghi was never elected to anything. I mean, Draghi was appointed prime minister. He was at the European Central Bank. He was appointed prime minister. So they're lamenting about the downfall. This is the same newspaper that celebrates the overthrow of the popularly elected Viktor Yanukovych. This is the newspaper that celebrates the impeachment of a duly elected president, but the downfall of Draghi, an unelected prime minister.
And denigrates the very popular Viktor Orban.
Exactly. That's right. See, that's what's underneath it. They can cope with Orban because Hungary is such a small country. I mean, it annoys them. I mean, it's like they're always ranting and raving about Orban, but ultimately, Hungary is still a small country. Italy is a very big country. I mean, and it's one of the founders of the European Union, and that's something they have to pay attention to. And so he says, Draghi, just over a month ago, Prime Minister Draghi boarded an overnight train with the leaders of France and Germany, bound for Kiev. During the 10-hour trip, they joked about how the French president had the nicest accommodations, but more important, they asserted their resolute support for Ukraine in the face of Russian aggression. The pictures of the men tucked in a cabin around a wooden conference table evoked a clubby style of crisis management reminiscent of World War II.
Clubby. Don't you love that term? Clubby.
That's right. Yeah, I can suddenly see, Roosevelt in his rocking chair, Stalin puffing at his pipe, Churchill, smoking on his cigar. That's exactly what I thought when I looked at that picture. Schultz, Macron, Draghi. That's exactly the image that came to my mind.
And shots for everyone.
Exactly. So the mere fact that Draghi had a seat at the table reflected how, by the force of his stature and credibility, he had made his country an equal partner with Europe's most important powers. Critical to that success was not only his economic bona fides as the former president of the European Central Bank, but also his unflinching recognition that Russia's war presented an existential challenge to Europe and its values. So remember, this is written by a New York Times reporter. So this isn't just some, pompous kind of guy at the Council on Foreign Relations. This is supposed to be a journalist.
It sounds like a pompous guy.
That's right. Now, notice how they do this thing. They say it's an existential challenge to Europe. The moment you say that, everyone's going to start laughing. I mean, how is a war in Ukraine an existential challenge to Europe? I mean, Italy is nowhere near Ukraine. I mean, how is it an existential challenge? So then you bring in, and its values, whatever the hell they are, because they're all about
We're still figuring that out.
Values.
Everybody, when George and I figure out what that is, we will make a video. We promise.
That's right. And then all that has now been thrown into jeopardy since a multi-flanked populist rebellion motivated by an opportunistic power grab stunningly torpedoed Mr. Draghi's government this week. Snap elections are being called for September, with polls showing that an alliance dominated by hard right nationalists and populists is heavily favored to run Italy come the fall.
Well, so much for democracy. People want to vote for who they want to vote for. Why are you lamenting? I mean, either you believe in democracy or you don't. There's nothing half-baked in the middle.
Right.
You go with it or you don't go with it. It's very, very simple.
Right.
Okay. I'm sorry the people are disappointing you and your values, okay? You have to believe in the process or you don't, okay? Well, and if you don't believe in the process, give your reasons for it. Maybe you have good reasons, okay?
Well, of course,
because if democracy doesn't work, then why do you pay homage to it every single day?
That's right. Well, that's the thing. They obviously don't believe in democracy. I mean, they only believe in democracy if the results are the ones that you like. When you get results you don't like, then you immediately start attacking it. You either call it into question, as they did after Trump's victory. Oh, it was Russia stole that election. How
about Brexit? Oh, we need a second vote. We need
exactly. We need a second vote. Exactly. We need another referendum. Or Orban was just cheating. It's all cheating. He wins these landslide victories. Oh yeah, it's just cheating.
Putin never wins an election, but then if he didn't, who did?
Exactly. Who did? Who is this? I mean, that's always what people say. In fact, like Putin, they say, "Oh, Putin, that's undemocratic. He's not the real leader." Okay, so who is the real leader? Who is the person in Russia who is the real leader of the people? If it's not Putin. And so it's something there, but that's the thing again. Draghi, he wasn't even elected. I mean, they keep talking about this, but torpedoed his government. I mean, he was brought in. I mean, it was like he was just shoved in. And the reason he was shoved in is that they thought Draghi would be able to get money out of the European Union because of his credibility with the central bankers. That's why they brought him in. That's why the president appointed Draghi. Hey, he's going to be able to go to the European Commission and say, give us some more goddamn money. So that's why he got that job.
Yeah, but I mean, if that's the whole, and I agree with you completely, then what is the European Union? Is it a racket? I mean, and what does it get down to here? Okay,
well, that's it.
You want someone to shake down the European, shake down Brussels for cash. Okay, right. I mean, what does that have to do with the rule of law and my values? Okay, right. I mean, what this article, I mean, a person that is attempting to write, and this is junk, the kind of prose, don't you think?
I think so too. Yeah.
But what it is that they don't want to recognize that all across Europe, These are the same problems. You're focusing it on Draghi. Again, they always go after personalities, you know. They want us to think in terms of people. No, we think in terms, George and I think in terms of ideas and realities on the ground.
That's right.
Okay.
But it is fascinating.
Kamala Harris checked all the boxes. You see what you got?
Right, right. But it is kind of funny, isn't it, that this is a guy who's a banker, and it's the ethos of journalists to celebrate rule by bankers. That's it. So that's what we want, a banker coming in. We don't want any democratic input. We just want all policies to be decided by bankers. And if people say, hey, we don't want our lives run by bankers, you know, this is a disgusting populist revolt.
Bankers ruling everything for other bankers.
That's it. That's it. That's why they do it.
That's his constituency, everybody.
Exactly. Yeah. And says, Mr. Draghi's downfall already amounts to the toppling of the establishment that populist forces across Europe dream of.
Can you hear the violence in the background, George?
Exactly, violence. Oh my God, that is so terrible. Poor Draghi. It has now raised concerns far transcending Italy of just how much resilience the movements retain on the continent and of what damage an Italian government more sympathetic to Russia and less committed to the European Union could do for the cohesion of the West, as it faces perhaps its greatest combination of security and economic challenges since the Cold War.
Well, how about this? And what damage an Italian government more sympathetic to its own people and less committed to the European Union? I had to correct that.
That's right. That's right. But again, notice that they keep bringing in this Russia as if somehow it's an obligation on the part of any Italian government that all policies should be subordinate to the fight against Russia, because that's existential for Europe and its values. So that's it. Everything is to be about Russia. And again, you know, I think Italians are probably care more about what's good for Italy. And I don't know, I'm just wildly guessing here that that's what they're thinking.
Well, if you're going to have to choose between good Italian cuisine, wonderful wine, and very well-cladded women, and Russia, I think they're going to go for the former, not the latter. Sorry.
Just yes, that's true. And then they quote some professor: Draghi's departure is a real problem for Europe, a tough blow. Draghi had a clear position against the Russian aggression in Ukraine. Europe will lose in compactness because the next prime minister will almost certainly be less convinced that the responsibility for the war lies with Russia. So he might have, you know, the wrong thing. He might not be thinking, you know, in the right way.
Because people are not going to bed at night thinking, thank God we're on the side of righteousness, on the side of Ukraine. Everybody's thinking about that.
You must be convinced that the responsibility for the war lies with Russia. And then Mr. Draghi's rebalancing of Italy's position on Russia is all the more remarkable considering where it started. Italy has among the Western Europe's strongest bonds with Russia. During the Cold War, it was the home of the largest communist party in the West, and Italy depended on Russia for more than 40% of its gas.
I wonder if that 40% is actually the real key here, George, okay?
Yeah.
You get rid of the rest of it here. Italians are paying through the nose for energy, okay? Right. In Northern Italy, it gets pretty cold in the winter, okay?
Yes. Yeah, that's right.
That's where all their industry is, by the way.
That's right. So, I'm sorry. Yeah, that's it. Draghi made his admission to break that pattern. He leveraged his strong relationship with US Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen to spearhead the sanctions on the Russian central bank. In other words, stealing Russia's money. That was a brave, bold move, grabbing someone else's money.
I wonder, George, if you were to again, you know, if we had a good pollster go through, you know, 1,500 likely voters, okay, how many of them would say and read this article, are you as concerned about Russia as you are as this guy in this article? And I bet you my bottom dollar to say, hell no.
No.
Hell no.
No, that's absolutely right. Absolutely right. I
mean, and Janet Yellen, well, that was his first mistake, okay. There's no recession, George. Okay.
No, none. Yeah. In the days before the fatal vote in the Senate that brought down his government, Mr. Draghi visited Algeria to announce a gas deal by which the country will supplant Russia as Italy's biggest gas supplier.
Not true. Not true. That's simply not true. Okay.
Yeah, I agree. Those achievements are now at risk after what started last week as a rebellion within this coalition and ended in a grab for power by conservatives, hard right populists and nationalists who sensed a clear electoral opportunity and went for the kill.
That's how politics works.
Yes, they went for the kill. They wanted elections. You know, they said, you know, it's been 4 years since we last had an election. It might be an idea to have another election.
They sound so violent, you know. People,
Yes.
you know, vulnerable people may feel threatened by elections, George. Okay,
But it is interesting
they
because
just have such disdain for the democratic process.
that's right. But that's the thing. Notice what they're doing here. You know, look at the words he's using: rebellion, and then it says grab for power, hard right, went for the kill. Again, gee, you vote no confidence in the government, you have an election. I mean, that's kind of the way democracy is supposed to work. I mean, no, the government should be in power whether the people have any confidence in it or not.
And Italy has had a new government virtually every single year since the Second World War. So, I mean, why is he wetting his pants here?
Yeah, well, that's it. But it's kind of, but again, interesting. This is the New York Times reporter. This is whom they identify with. That they identify, you know, he goes to Draghi and said, I think it's absolutely terrible what they did to you. You know, this is who they regard as, you know, their peers. You know, Mario Draghi, who goes tells the New York Times reporter, you know, now go and get me my my champagne from the local wine store. I'm a little busy.
Yeah, I mean, again. You know, I think one of the overall themes that George and I are always hitting on is that these are all elite agendas, okay? They're generated by the elites for the elites, okay? And anyone that questions it, like the voter, well, you're not worthy, you're a deplorable. It's the same formula over and over and over again.
That's right. And then they abandoned.
They abandoned. Oh my God! This is so dramatic, George.
Yes. Now, if Italian voters do not punish them for ending a government that was broadly considered the country's most capable and competent in years. Who considered them?
Who says that?
Broadly, but this is again classic New York Times. You do it you say it in the passive voice, and when you write in the passive voice, you don't actually notice that you haven't really spelled out who actually considers this, who is doing this. But that's
the predicate.
Yeah, they broadly considered the country's most capable and competent. Who's this broadly? Well, the editors of the New York Times, Mario Draghi's friends, the bankers, the European Union Commission, the European Central Bank. I mean, those,
they're the only people. They're the people that count, George.
They're the people who count, exactly. And then this is worrying to many critics of Russia. They're very worried. I mean, you know, I'm a critic of Russia. I'm very worried. Mr. Salvini wore shirts with Mr. Putin's face on them in Moscow's Red Square and in the European Parliament. His party signed a cooperation deal with Mr. Putin's Russia United Party in 2017.
It's not Russia United, it's United Russia.
Yeah, the other thing is, what kind of cooperation? I mean, Russia is Russia and Italy is Italy, and in the European Union. I don't understand what kind of cooperation is feasible other than, I don't know, just, you know,
it's like sister cities.
That's what I was going to say, exactly. They like, yeah, sister cities, or, you know, you have, you know, students from one country, you know, visiting the other students, and so vice versa. I mean, he signed a cooperation deal as if they're somehow a political alliance, but how can you have a political alliance when, you know, you're not You're not allies. So,
well, but I thought it was one of the missions they have, democratic forces meeting with other democratic forces. Okay. I mean, look at the relationship between the conservatives in the UK and conservatives in the US. They have a intermingling. Okay.
right.
I mean, it just, he makes it sound like it's so nefarious. There's nothing nefarious about it all.
Right. But that's right. I mean, but I suspect it's even much less intense than the one between conservatives in the UK and the conservatives in the US. I mean,
Absolutely.
first of all, I mean, they don't share a language. It's very, very different political system. So I do think it's probably just, young party workers, spending a couple of weeks in Russia, and young party workers in Russia spending a couple of weeks in Italy. I mean, it's just
sounds like a good deal.
Not a bad deal. I can't see what other kind of cooperation deal would work. Anyway, Ms. Maloney. Now, this is the one that they're targeting because she's the leader, Giorgia Meloni, the leader of this Brothers of Italy party. It's leading in the polls, and so they're expecting her to be prime minister rather than Salvini, who's fallen in popularity, and fallen in popularity in large part because he actually took part in Draghi's government. I mean, Salvini paid the price for taking part in Draghi, who's broadly popular, very, very popular. But she didn't take part in Draghi's government, in which case that's why she's popular. And Berlusconi is, I think, the third wheel in this coalition.
George, what this reminds me of is that, and it's still in existence, how Gorbachev is adored in the West. Okay, he still is. Okay,
yes,
and he's a nobody now. Okay, yeah. and that is good for him because there was a lot of venom for him for a long time. But again, it's the editorial boards of the Washington Post and the New York Times. They choose who's worthy. Okay, and that's with Draghi. He is part of their club. Okay. And they have no understanding of the countries they're talking about whatsoever. And if there's a disagreement with your hero figure, then they must be pawns of foreign powers. I mean, this is so juvenile. And it's not even. I was going to say juvenile analysis. It's not even analysis.
Right. That's right. But I think, and this is where there's a more sinister aspect to it because I don't think this political establishment is just going to allow a kind of a right-wing populist government to take over and change policy like that. So I would expect in the very near future, all sorts of scandals suddenly emerge,
video, a lot of
videos, people being, wiretapped, gonna elicit payment, he met so-and-so and they agreed on something.
Mail fraud, our favorite mail fraud.
Yeah, I mean, exactly the number they did in Austria with that, yeah. I'm sure that they already have tapes of Maloney, or all ready to go the moment she wins the election.
I mean, what is Christopher Steele up these days? Okay.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, because it's a tried and true. I mean, this is the method they always use. The sudden the scandal, and they're gonna have something Salvini. Oh, he was in Moscow 15 years ago and he met so and so and whatever. I mean, all that is ready to go. So Mr. Berlusconi used to host Mr. Putin's daughters at his Sardinian villa and was long Mr. Putin's closest ally in Western Europe. But now some of Mr. Berlusconi's longtime backers say he has forgotten his European values and crossed the Rubicon to the nationalist and Putin enabling side.
It's demagoguery. This is all this demagoguery.
Well, when it wasn't Berlusconi, I thought Schroeder was supposed to be Putin's closest ally.
Still is too. Schroeder spoke out in the last news cycle about Nord Stream 2.
That's right, exactly. Yes. Schroeder's.
Yeah, see, the thing is that Berlusconi is he is a politician of a different type. I mean, he was entertaining. I mean, that guy could keep you laughing, okay, and he could keep your attention here. But they make him out to be some kind of nefarious person, deeply corrupt guy in politics. Tell me something new.
Right. But that's right. But I mean, he was, look, I mean, the guy was a businessman. I mean, he was kind of Trump before Trump. He was a businessman who got into politics. Schroeder is a professional politician, but they can't do anything to Schroeder now. And he says it. I don't care. You do what you want. You want to kick me out of the party. Go ahead. Kick me out of the party. I don't care. He's made a lot of money. He's going to enjoy his retirement. It is interesting, though, that Berlusconi, Schroeder are the kind of people that Putin relates to. He had good personal relationship. There's a kind of good chemistry that he has with them, as it is with Netanyahu and Trump. I mean, there's certain types that Putin always has good relations with, and there's certain personality types get bad relations with, like Sergeant Schultz or Barack Obama or Macron. You can see that he really doesn't hit it off with them on a personal level.
That's such a really good point, because all of the people that Putin got along with, they weren't technocrats.
Right.
Sergeant Schultz, he's the quintessential technocrat. Okay, Draghi, he's a technocrat. Okay, Netanyahu, however you feel about him, he's an operator. Okay, he is. Yes. He's a shaker and a mover. Okay, again, you like or dislike him. I'm just saying the fact. I mean, a guy that never changed his appearance in 30 years is one that's really amazing. Okay, and he's out of power, but he's lurking again. Okay,
he's lurking again. I mean, I think he'll be back quite soon. But it's interesting is the nationalist and Putin enabling, which is always like, you've got these two things that you're supposed to hate, nationalism and Putin enabling. And then you think, what's the connection? I don't even understand. I mean, nationalists, presumably, I want what's good for Italy, which you think, well, isn't that what you're supposed to do? You're running for office in Italy. You want what's good for Italy. But apparently that's Putin enabling, because you should only care about what the European Union wants and what NATO wants and what the United States wants. And that's the important thing. The hell with your country.
Well, this is just another slur. That's all it is. Putin enabling. Okay, what does that even mean? Okay,
means nothing. And then supporters of Mr. Draghi take some solace in the fact that he will stick around in a limited caretaker capacity until the next government is seated with control over issues related to the pandemic, international affairs, including Ukraine policy, and the billions of euros in recovery funds from Europe. That money is delivered in tranches, and strict requirements need to be met before the funds are released.
Like they do in Ukraine.
He said, thank God we'll have an unelected person who'll still be there ignoring the election results. He's going to be hanging around, because otherwise the European Union isn't going to release the funds. They'll only release the funds if Draghi is there to handle the funds, and otherwise they're not going to release the funds. That's
okay,
nice.
George. The strict requirements only apply to Poland and Hungary. Okay, nobody else. Okay.
Right? Yeah. I mean, Hungary doesn't get anything now. That's it. You don't play the game. You're not getting any pandemic recovery funds, which is very nice. This is supposed to be the European Union solidarity, and the pandemic. Well, no pandemic recovery funds for you.
That's right, because COVID is really political, because they made it political.
That's right. Okay, that's the story. But I think that's what really stands out here. This is the political establishment. They want Draghi. They're very angry that Draghi is gone. They're hoping against hope that somehow Draghi can hang around, drag it out, so to speak, and in the meantime, a variety of scandals can be manufactured, some illicit, usually some illicit payments. Maloney got payments from somebody.
Money works better, but the sex doesn't work as well in Italy. Okay,
it doesn't, and you can't do much also with women. I mean, it's like, people feel uncomfortable. I mean, if you make some kind of thing, Maloney had some extramarital affair. I mean, that's just, no one wants to touch that one.
Well, usually because they're envious, like, oh,
Yes.
wow.
Yeah, that's right. So they're not gonna, that there's not much, you can do there, but there'll be money, yeah, illicit payments, and somebody or other wired some money to Salvini, or
He likes a Russian salad dressing, things.
exactly. And then some shady Russian character met someone who's knows someone who knows Maloney, and they talked about something or other, and money changed hands and whatever. So I think there's going to be a lot of that kind of thing. And look, there's always a fifth column. Wherever you go, there's a fifth column, and there may well be around Maloney, around Salvini, people who are going to try and sabotage any coalition government.
And perish the thought that they actually think about why Draghi's government is fallen. I mean, perish the thought, what are the real problems here? Why is this happening? See, they won't do that. They simply will not, do a forensic study of why all of these characters keep falling on their face and are thrown out on their ass. Okay. I mean, this is going to be, George and I predicted this, how many other European leaders going down this path are going to get the boot? We're putting big money on Sergeant.
That's right. So, I mean, I would think that the political establishment, they're going to cling on for as long as possible. And there's a hint there which says, hey, well, Draghi's not going to go. I mean, they're going to find some ways in which Draghi can just sort of be the caretaker prime minister, while this new government, the one that's supposed to take power, is squabbling or fighting or immersed in scandals, and Draghi can still stay on forever.
Draghi needs to connect up with Guaido. How to do it?
Guaido, yeah.
The Guaido factor. Okay.
That's it. That's right. That's right. It's
Draghi forever. Okay. New Roman emperor. Okay?
That's it. Yeah, that's right. So I think it's very interesting. We don't know, even about these people, whether Maloney will turn out to be a dud. I mean, Salvini was kind of overpromised and underdelivered. I mean, he didn't really turn out to be quite the leader he seemed to be, at least back in 2018, and neither is Berlusconi. So there might not be such enormous amount of changes even if they do take power, but you can already see the panic. Just like, remember the panic that an imminent Trump victory caused, an international political.
That's exactly it. It's an ideological panic. That's what it is, okay? Right. Because their ideological worldview is being threatened, okay? Because they don't care about the consequences of their ideology. They care about the ideology itself. It is a cult, okay, and it must be protected. It's such an important point to remember, okay, because Draghi is a representative. He's an apostle of this church.
Yes, yeah, I agree. Yeah.
All right, everybody, we're going to keep an eye on Mr. Draghi. Okay, the fact that he was friends with Yellen, that just tells you.
Yeah, I think boasting of a friendship with Putin, I think, is more of a calling card than big Janet Yellen. I think that's how you lose votes. I'm good friends with Janet Yellen. Whoa.
All right, everybody, this is The Gaggle with Peter and George. We're on Local, so please go to thegaggle.locals.com. Please visit our store. And tomorrow, I guess about this time tomorrow, you will have
3 p.m. Eastern time. So I've got a little more than 24 hours, but people are already getting very nervous, and nervous with excitement, good nervous. And Buddy himself is sort of wondering, what's happening about the tip jar. So remember, 3 p.m. Eastern time, please join me, and we'll have a lot of fun. Come with questions, comments, criticisms, and on the way out the door, think of little Buddy. He really, he's absolutely shocked by the dismal condition of the tip jar. So if you have a few bob tinkling in your pocket, whip them out, dunk them in his tip jar, be most appreciated. And remember, if you like The Gaggle, please like, share, and subscribe. See you soon. Bye.